Intentions of Germany. I draw the attention of dear readers to the fact that confirms the author's hypothesis of a conspiracy of Hitler and the British Empire about the attack on the USSR on June 22, 1941. On May 12, 1941, 2 days after Rudolf Hess arrived in England and received assurances that the British Empire will not open a second front against Germany, Karl signed another directive. The new directive refined the techniques of the global disinformation operations against the Soviet Union. In my opinion, the adjustments were made after the determination of measures of complex interaction with British intelligence. Misinformation was now carried out in circles where it could become the thing of Soviet agents. And to enhance reliability, the scheme of simultaneous submission of false information onto intelligence channels, British and German. I must say that our intelligence, on first glance, passed on very precise information on the timing of the attack. Who does not know about the messages from Richard Zarga and other scouts into the mass consciousness of the Soviet people? The specialists of the information war against the Soviet Union have inculcated false information for many years. These were covert operations about the dirty dealings of British intelligence. Since the end of 1940, conflicting information about the timing of the start of the war was reaching the Kremlin. On May 12, 1941, after the approval of disinformation activities with British intelligence, the nature of this information became somewhat different. Now it couldn't be called not very accurate. It became false. It was reported that the attack will occur in the middle of May or at the end of May, and this information came just days before the referred deadline of invasion. For example, on May 21, Zarga announced the start of the war as late May. This was disinformation because already on April 30 Hitler established a date for the attack, June 22, and this date has been agreed on with the British after the visit of Rudolf Hess. When these terms of the beginning of the war passed, our scouts, of course, began to report about new ones. The second half of June, June 15 to 20, June 20 to 25, and June 22. This slipping of the dates along with the flow of inaccurate and simply false information securely stoked the accurate information. As you can see, it was not easy for Stalin to find out where the truth lies. Here is the opinion on the issue of Georgy Zhukov, who was Chief of General Staff before the war. G.K. Zhukov. Voxpomenania I Razmišlenia. 3 volumes. 8th edition. 1987. On March 28, 1941, head of the Intelligence Department, Philip Kulikov, presented a report to management, containing details of exceptional importance. This document outlined some of the options of possible directions of shocks by fascist troops in an attack on the Soviet Union. The document stated that the outbreak of hostile actions against the Soviet Union can be expected between May 15 and June 15, 1941. However, The conclusions of the above information in the report, in fact, removed all of their value and misled Stalin. At the end of his report, Golikov wrote, "Rumors and documentary evidence of the inevitability of a war against the Soviet Union this spring should be regarded as disinformation emanating from the British and even, perhaps, the German intelligence service." Thus, my dear reader, from Zhukov's memoirs we learn that British intelligence had actively participated in the activities of misinformation. But here's how NKVD intelligence acted. According to one of its leaders, Pavel Pseudo-Platov, Exploration and the Kremlin, 1996. Intelligence reports about the possible start of the German invasion were contradictory. For example, Zarg reported from Tokyo that the invasion is scheduled for June 1. At the same time, our residency in Berlin reported that the invasion is planned for June 15. Prior to this, on March 11, military intelligence reported that the German invasion is planned for spring. In the book Hitler's Secrets on Stalin's Table, Intelligence and Counterintelligence for the Preparation of German Aggression Against the Soviet Union 1995, based on archival documents, the following is noted. Since March of 1941, the flow of information from sources in Berlin and other residencies about Germany's military preparations increased sharply. The amount of data produced by counterintelligence agencies also increased. Summary analysis of all this information led to the conclusion that the German government made a political decision to attack the Soviet Union. This is clearly evidenced by the cited documents in the collection. However, back then foreign intelligence and counterintelligence did not appreciate the totality of the extracted information, did not analyze the information received, and did not make the necessary conclusions. On June 22, 2001, the newspaper Izvestia published an interview with the historian Yuri Nezhnikovi, who spoke about the recently declassified documents of the foreign intelligence of the USSR. By June 21, 1941, Stalin received 3 reports of political intelligence and 4 military about the exact or approximate date of the German attack on the Soviet Union. However, Soviet intelligence before this called 6 different times of attack on the USSR. None of these terms was confirmed. Moreover, by June 21, 1941, intelligence was wrong for major times in its predictions. Stalin did not trust it much. He trusted his personal intelligence more. 1. The entry of German troops into Austria on March 12, 1938 came as a surprise to the USSR. 2. Records about the Munich Agreement of Western countries USA, England, France on the occupation of Czechoslovakia by Germany in 1938 weren't produced. Moreover, it was on the days of signing the agreement when our intelligence warned of the proximity of war. 3. Intelligence also could not get information about preparations for the German attack on Poland. Intelligence failed to warn about the preparation of the German attack on France on May 10, 1940, and the simultaneous introduction of troops in the Benelux countries. In patriotic literature, an opinion is firmly rooted that the development of Operation Barbarossa was conducted in the Supreme High Command of the Armed Forces. OKW at Plan Barbarossa grew because of these developments. But it's not so. In parallel with the OKW work on the plan of waging a war against the Soviet Union was conducted in the Supreme Command of the German Army (OKH). Coinciding in some detail, these plans are fundamentally different in the main detail. In the idea itself, for details see Military History Journal, 1991, Number 3. The OKW considered various options for blows on the flanks with a turn to the center. But for the OKH, it was the opposite. The breakthrough in the center and turns towards the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea. So our scouts have substantially transferred all the main options of the plan, which were defended by the OKW and which were rejected in principle in early December of 1940. The version by the OKH, Plan Barbarossa, was not calculated anywhere. Was this accidental? It's hard to believe. It's simply impossible. German secret services arranged a leak of that information which, for the preparation of war with Germany, had no value other than disinformation. It managed to ensure secrecy in that information, which should have been treasured. But the head of the Abwehr, Wilhelm Canaris, and a number of other senior generals of the Wehrmacht were closely associated with British intelligence. Most likely, the British knew about the two plans of attack on the Soviet Union and helped the fascists in the preparation of a sudden blitzkrieg. Posts by our scouts about the strategic plans of the fascist leadership were not only untrue, but also made it extremely difficult for Soviet leadership to generate adequate countermeasures for the impending threat. As a result, the Kremlin had a stream of contradictory information developed in large part in the bowels of German and British intelligence. Director of the Information War, Stalin had to make a great effort to understand the flow of accurate and false information. Personal intelligence helped Stalin to make the right decision. Its basis was the best forces of the former military intelligence of Tsarist Russia, in particular the brothers Ignatieff. The main role was played by Count Alexei Ignatieff, who later became Lieutenant General of the Soviet Army and was very close to Stalin. Readers will remember his wonderful book 50 Years of Service. After analyzing the situation, on June 12, 1941, Stalin began moving parts of the Red Army to the positions assigned to them according to the plan of border defense. Not on the night of 21 to June 22, quite suddenly, the Red Army was alerted. Advance guards moved into the operational control of the Red Army. The last troops were preparing for an attack. However, for unclear reasons, most parts of the Red Army were not ready to repel the attack. Especially